Well, Brian, it's excellent to be sitting here with you at NADA again. You and I were just saying that kind of being in and around the environment now, even a couple of years later, this feels more like NADA 2019, I think you'd say, right?
I think it's pretty clear walking around. If you didn't know COVID happened, this is another normal NADA.
Yeah.
The energy here and the people that are here, it looks like a normal NADA.
Well, for you, it's a little bit of a return to what was, because it's NADA back now as president and CEO. So how does that feel?
It feels great. I mean, it feels great to be back and connecting with customers and connecting with employees. It's fantastic to be back in the business.
So now that you've settled in, if you will, how are your priorities being framed up? What are the most important things for you?
Well, when Brookfield bought the company, I like to say that we made an $8.5 billion bet on automotive retail, the biggest bet on automotive retail ever. And, if you ever had to raise money, even for a charity, it's hard to get people to write checks. And to get people to write $8.5 billion of a check or checks to buy the company, you have to convince people that automotive retail is here to stay, dealer consolidation will continue, the new entrants have limitations, and that the traditional franchise model and traditional OEMs will continue to be successful, and that CDK is really at the center of this ecosystem between OEMs, retailers, and the retail customer. And really, it's our place to help the transition to retailing as consumer expectations have changed post-COVID.
So post-COVID, let's talk about some of the key pressures that dealers are facing right now. What are you seeing as being probably the biggest trigger points for them?
Yeah. So there's some positives as we head into 2023, and there's some headwinds for sure. So let's talk about the headwinds first. I mean, the economy's slowing. Vehicle prices have gone up a lot. Put on top of that, higher interest rates, so payments are higher, right? Used car prices are rolling over, so people have less equity. So those are clear headwinds on the consumer side. However, during COVID, there were no cars.
Right.
So there's a lot of pent-up demand. The fleet has continued to age out. Estimates that there are 6 to 9 million units of demand that didn't take place during COVID. So really the question is, will that excess demand or carryover demand flow into 2023 and keep sales, pretty buoyant and growing over last year as supply becomes more available and people get the car they wanted or not have to wait so long for it. So I think it's going to be an interesting year. For our customers, dealers have had a great couple of years. They've been very profitable, so their balance sheets are stronger than they've ever been. And so I think we're going into what will be a mild slowdown for automotive retail, but with our customers, the retailers, in a really strong financial position.
Stepping back into the position that you're in and looking at the dealer landscape now, what changed the most for dealers during that last 2 to 3 years? Where was the biggest transition?
Yeah, so when I first came to CDK in 2016, technology was something kind of people had to have, but I don't think they really saw it so much as a strategic tool. And coming back into the industry now and coming back to CDK, it's very clear now that dealers and OEMs really see technology as a key strategic tool. And if you think about the new entrants, I like to tell dealers that, hey, your OEMs are going to get you electric vehicles that are going to be as good as or better than the new entrants. And what we need to do as an industry, OEMs, dealers, with help from CDK and others, is to create a consumer experience that also rivals or is better than the new entrants. And so I think that fundamental understanding now of post-COVID is that technology is really critical to the industry. And it's not just something you have to have and use. It's really a strategic advantage how you use it to create the right customer experience, and the customer expectations have changed around the buying experience.
I talked to a leading volume sales executive last year at an OEM who said all of these changes would not have occurred had COVID not happened. There was a pathway that, the consumer piece of it and the dealer piece of it, there was a pathway for it, but it would have been about a decade longer had the implications of COVID not happened. Do you agree with that? Do you think that there was a fundamental shift that just occurred?
I think there was a shift. It's definitely happened faster than it would have without COVID. But quite frankly, I think the success of some of the new entrants has also accelerated the manufacturers and the retailers to say, we need to have a customer experience that rivals the new entrants' customer experience. Otherwise, the whole franchise system is at risk.
Right.
And so I think that's the second factor that is part of this acceleration to really seeing technology as a strategic weapon.
So how is CDK tackling some of the items that we just addressed?
So we obviously we have a very large footprint with dealers. We're the number one footprint in North America. And so we really matter to the industry. Everyone in this industry would say we really matter to the industry. And we're bringing with our tools, in particular for a new customer experience, we have Sales Express, which really allows a customer to sit on a couch just like this, start a transaction at home, and wherever they want to stop, or they got to stop for a couple hours, take the kids to soccer, they can come back, pick up the transaction, continue to do the work, and then go into a dealership and pick up right where they left off, using the same look and feel of what they were working on at home, and then go through the journey in a much more expeditious way. And we see it in terms of our ability for consumers to buy cars a lot faster. So that's on the digital retailing side. So that really driving a better customer experience. But also making our dealers more efficient, right? We know that it's hard to get employees, hard to retain employees, and there are cost pressures coming, and we're all suffering with inflation, and so cost pressures are there for everybody, ourselves, dealers, everybody else. So getting that efficiency at our dealers as well is also critical.
When you consider all the new technology that's out there, what's some advice that you have for dealer clients who are in the landscape? How can the folks who are walking around here take advantage of some of the technological shifts?
Well, I think one of the things I always tell dealers is, be careful with bright, shiny pennies, and make sure you understand how things integrate together and you have an integrated workflow. If you have a point solution that maybe looks really good, but then people have to go and re-key punch data, or it doesn't give you the same answer that you're going to get from another system, and then you spend time internally and maybe even with a customer trying to reconcile why the price is different or why something's different. Really think about the entire journey, not just on the retail side with retail customers, but for your internal people too. What's the entire journey of the workflow? How do you get something that's more efficient and effective? And just be careful with bright, shiny pennies.
Right. And the workforce is likely within a dealership is going to have to change as well to adapt to changing technology. Advice there? I mean, it's so hard to find people anyway right now, right?
Yeah, and that's where, again, coming back to having that simple workflow that people can work through together. Younger people coming into the industry are used to more intuitive tools like iPhones and all the things that we use. So when they come into a dealership, they want to have more intuitive tools, and that's why we at CDK, we're modernizing our tech stack. We have the richest DMS in the industry. We have 50 years of intellectual property in our DMS. We handle every idiosyncrasy of every brand and everything that can happen in the store. Our system handles that. And then so you have the best, and then we're modernizing that, and people can come to our booth and see the modern modules that we have. And so over the next couple of years, we'll completely modernize our DMS, and we'll have those more natural, intuitive feel that younger people are looking for, combined with the richness of 50 years of intellectual property.
So let's dig into that just a little bit more. What's the next iteration for CDK? Where do you really need to apply the pressure and change and adapt with this new ownership structure and new leadership?
So we have our two biggest focus are modernizing our tech stack.
Yep.
And bringing that richness we have. So that's number one. Number two is around our integrations and making sure that we deliver to our dealers more seamless integrations between the workflow. Today, if you go into a dealership, people are jumping from one screen to another, from an iPad to a PC, and Sales Express is a great example where you're working on one tool to start the transaction and get it all the way through to the end. Very efficient for the sales manager, very efficient for the salesperson, and very smooth and effective for the customer. And then overall, just continue to deliver a great customer experience for our dealers, help our dealers sell and service more cars. We're here to help our dealers sell and service more cars.
NADA is always the bellwether for the industry to some extent. The themes are set here. We follow them throughout the year. So what are your predictions for this year? When we sit in Las Vegas next year at this time, what are we going to be talking about 2023?
I think the good news is I think we should be through the supply chain issues, so we should be looking at a more normalization of inventory going into 24. We will have weathered, I think, whatever economic downturn happens this year. That'll be behind us. And then I think a big question going into 24 will be what happens with inventory levels. Do we go back to every OEM says we're not going to go back to those inventory levels that we had pre-COVID, and I think that's beneficial for everyone, if dealers and OEMs, if we're not there. But a year from now, we'll start to see the tension around that. So I think that will be important in 24. I think technology will continue to move forward as it always does. We'll continue to see dealer consolidation. That's a secular trend that will continue, and that CDK really helps dealers with consolidation. No company has done more buy-sell transactions than CDK.
Right.
And so we see that trend continue to happen as well.
Great. Brian, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason.
Love talking to you.
Thank you.